Hey everybody, this is Steph Mischuk with killersites.com and killerphp.com. In this quick video, I'm going to go over what I call the professional web design process, a roadmap. This is actually a series of steps and questions that are involved in the web design process. These are questions that you should ask when you're starting any new project. I've been asked many times by people to try to tie it all in together for them because they're not sure how to proceed. So this is what I've been doing for a long time, and this is how I approach every project, and it really simplifies the process, speeds things up, and so it's pretty useful to learn. I'm assuming for this video that you've done my Complete Web Designer or my Complete Web Programmer packages, or at least you know your way around HTML and CSS and design, and maybe a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of PHP, these sorts of things. So what I'm going to do, this is an actual PDF guide, if you will, that comes included with the Complete Web Designer and the Complete Web Programmer packages. So this video here is really a supplemental to this list. So I'm going to read off the list. I'm looking at it now if you haven't figured it out. But I'm going to add color. I'm going to supplement the point forms and the quick little examples that I have in the PDF. So let's start with the beginning. So the 5 steps, questions in the web design process when starting a new project. Number 1, you have to ask yourself this question: if the site will be updated very often, or more than one person will be editing the site's content, then what you should be considering is building off of a CMS like Drupal, Joomla. CMS is short for Content Management System, or maybe a blog software like WordPress. And these days, blog software and CMSs, they're very similar. There's a lot of crossover in terms of functionality. So if you were having, say, a smaller site, with 1 or 2 authors contributing, maybe, whatever, a few hundred pages, couple subsections, that kind of stuff, then WordPress is probably the choice for you. If you find that you may have many authors and they may have all kinds of different levels of access, many subsections, where you have a much more complex site where the content is changing a lot, then you probably want to go towards something like Joomla or Drupal or any other CMS, a full-blown content management system, simply because they have the infrastructure in place to be able to handle that much more complexity in the site. Once you've decided to either go with a CMS or not, this is step 2. It's time to work on the views at this time. Better say, when I say views, what I'm talking about is the pages that people actually will see. So if you're working with a client, what you would do is sit down with them, and you might draw a little diagram, say, okay, what do you need? You need products pages, contact us page, what do you want to have on the home page? And you sort of map this out, if they're going to have an e-commerce store, what are they going to need? So you map out the views. And the reason you do this, and you draw it on paper or something, and the reason you do this is so that you and the client can have a clear idea of what you're looking at in terms of the scope of the original site. So this is an important step, and it helps clarify the project. Number 3, once you've defined your pages and so on, and this will change, of course, as the project evolves, because I can assure you that clients will have different ideas, so you got to be ready to be flexible. Next thing you want to do is you want to define the global style and the structure of the site. So first of all, page layout style, whether the page is going to be left aligned or center aligned, these type of things. What are going to be included in the main menus. Like on Killer Sites, we have our top main menu that's consistent throughout the site. What's going to be in that main menu? What's important to the client? You want to also look at specific design elements like the font styles for both body text and header text. This way you define this in your CSS pages, so this you can roll out and make sure it's consistent across the site. Those type of considerations are very important, especially with static sites, because if you're using a Drupal or WordPress, it's really It's easy. It's really easy to update that. Not scratch that. It's pretty easy. If you design your sites properly with CSS, this is all pretty easy to change very quickly. But it's good to set things up. So you set up your master style sheet from the beginning. So you sort of define all this, so you don't have to go back and as often to change everything. Further to that, site colors. You want to choose well-matched colors. If you're colorblind, you may want to go to Adobe. They have this cooler tool. It's kind of cool. So you can, let's say you take your client's logo and you can put those colors into the cooler program. It's a web program, by the way. Adobe provides for free. And then you can, Cooler will tell you which colors would work with the logo. So then you can use that as the basis of the color scheme for the site. Okay, so step 4. If you're not using a CMS, plan on the use of PHP includes to create common page elements like footers, headers, and menus. So in step 4 rather, there's an assumption you're not going to use a CMS, because if you use a CMS, then all this is defined for you. If you've ever used WordPress or Drupal, all the site menus are there, and this is all defined in the theme that you use for a particular CMS. Again, I'm assuming that you've done my videos on these subjects, so I'm not going to elaborate about the themes and CMSs and so on. Anyway, with step 4, you want to set up your structure for your pages. I always say you shouldn't use basic HTML pages anymore. There's no point to that. You're just handcuffing yourself in terms of functionality if you just use plain HTML. What you should be doing is going in there and using at least PHP pages, so you can take advantage of PHP mechanisms like the include mechanism. So again, step 4, you use includes to create common page elements like your footers, your headers, your menus, and so on. Stage 5 or step 5, and I'm going to read this right off. When you have steps 1 to 4 covered, it's time to start building. So you notice, before we actually wrote much code, you may have did your basic CSS and your basic pages. At stage 5 is when you actually get into it and you actually start building out the site for real. And one point I make is consider the use of templates for at least the structure of the page, and if you can find it, a template could also be used as the basis of the site in terms of design. Remember, don't reinvent the wheel. So I'm not saying that you should use templates for your design all the time. No. But you can. It's a viable option. You find a nice template, you base the site on that, you reconfigure it, you tweak it. This is done all the time. It works good. It doesn't necessarily have to look like a template site, because you'll change it and you modify it, so that it looks different. That said, I wouldn't be trying to build CSS-based layouts, the structure of the layouts, from scratch. There's so many structural templates out there. For instance, Dreamweaver, CS4, CS5, and so on. They all come with all these free CSS templates. So you can grab it. I want center aligned. And you know that those templates, those CSS templates, will be bug-free and well-tested. So you don't have to worry about screwing around with how the layout works in IE6 versus IE7. This will be done for you, So what do you need to know to do all this kind of stuff? That was it. That was the 5 steps, by the way, right? Number 1, choose whether or not you're going to use a CMS or not. Number 2, you want to start figuring out what pages, what views. Nerds call pages the views, because you view them, right? Products page, contact page. You sit down with the client, you start to figure this out. And then number 3, you define your global styles, your page layouts, your menus, your fonts, your colors. Number 4, then if you're not using a CMS or a blog, then you set up your common elements for your pages, your footers, your headers, your menus, and so on. I suggest using PHP, although you can use any dynamic page technology. If you want to use ASP or ASP.NET, it's up to you. I'm a big proponent of PHP, and if you want to know why, just go to killer.php.com. You'll learn all about that. So you set that up in 4, and Step 5 is you actually start building everything with this information. You pull all this together. You may leverage a visual template, at least leverage a structural template so you don't have to screw around with layout issues, cross-browser stuff that you could run into. So what should you know? You need to know a little HTML and CSS. You should know some PHP, some JavaScript. I always say that web designers should also learn at least a blog or blog-like product like a WordPress and get to know it well, because I can guarantee you that you're going to run into clients who are going to want functionality that these blogs or these CMSs will provide for free. So why create hassles for yourself? Learn one and get really good at it so you can just go implement it really easily. Another thing you're going to need to know for modern web design, you need to understand an ajax library. There's a few out there, jQuery, Scriptaculous, and so on. I've decided to hitch my boat to jQuery because it's used quite a bit. I think Microsoft is with it and a few other big companies. It's a very robust library, so you want to add all kinds of fancy JavaScript-based widgets to the page. jQuery is a way to go. Another thing you might want to learn is to pick a form software to install and get to know how to configure it. A lot of sites may require forms. It is not as much of a priority as the other things, but it's still something to have in the back of your head. Another thing to learn about is a credit. I had to reshoot this last segment again. My apologies, because I don't know what, the camera just stopped working for some reason. Anyway, the last thing you should learn about is you should learn a credit card processor, something like PayPal or whatnot, just so that you understand the process of setting up credit card in an e-commerce type of transactional situation. I think more and more, going along with my theme that I've been pushing, that we're going to see a lot more small business out there that are going to be using websites. I think knowing how to set up an e-commerce situation makes sense. So you should, in that case, you're going to need to use some third-party processor. We use one of our own for our own credit card processing. We also use PayPal. PayPal is quite easy to set up. There's many different levels. You can set it up just using basic HTML. You could set it up using a combination of PHP and HTML, so you can send things back and forth. And you actually, PayPal actually rather also provides a full API, so you can do everything seamlessly within your site. So they offer a good range. I'm not trying to push PayPal. You can use any processors you like. There's many good ones out there. It's just, the point is just to learn at least one, so you understand how it works. And they all pretty much work the same way. There's nuances and differences, and some are easier in certain contexts than others. But once you know one, to work with other processors, other payment gateways, is pretty simple, compared to not knowing any. Anyhow, that's it. If you want to learn more about the skills that you need to know, become a professional web designer, web programmer, you can check out the killersites.com magazine. It's killersites.com/magazine, and just do a search for skills of professional web design. And I go into detail there, and big list, and some comments along the way. I'm Steph Mischuk. I hope you liked this video. My apologies for the interruption. I don't know why the camera stopped, but technology. All right, have a good day. We'll talk soon.